Again, I want to thank everybody who showed up here tonight. Again, we really appreciate the fact that you're going to come in here and support the cooperative form of business. This is an important thing. I think we've got 55 members in attendance, which does constitute a quorum for us. That allows us to do business legally here at the meeting. So that's an important milestone for us to make there. Fort Scott Community College, we thank them for allowing us to use facilities here. This place is great. It's really nice for what we're trying to do. Ron Graber, where's Ron at? I think he's back here by the camera. Ron's our member service communications specialist, and he took care of this annual meeting pretty well single-handedly as far as setting it all up. So he's done a wonderful job. Really appreciate that and thank him for that. And again, our employees, they provide that excellent level of service, do a great job for us inside and out. We've come to expect that excellent level of service, and that's a great thing. And then again, also for our board, their dedication, their support, they truly believe in the co-op service to the members. I think they do a fine job of serving the co-op. A couple things I want to talk about, just the co-op itself, being the CEO. I think my responsibilities are just to tell you what's going on with the co-op, how it affects you as a member, maybe some of the things that you can expect out here in the future that's going to improve our service. But one of the most important things that we're always paying attention to, and that's safety. We're in a very dangerous industry. You don't get second chances a lot of times if you make a mistake, if you're working out there on the power lines right there. And we've done a pretty good job of staying safe. We had 3 years of no lost time accident going. We stumbled a couple of times here, and we've got to start our stretch now of no lost time accidents over. But the most important thing is that we're keeping everybody safe, our members and the public. We look back at this winter, and my gosh, what a rough winter. You know, there's a couple ways of looking at that. The first way I would say we had one of the more vicious winters in near remembrance, near history, and Mother Nature still had one kick left for us last weekend, and thankfully we didn't have a whole lot of trouble on our power lines because the east-west roads were in mighty bad shape for trying to get trucks up and down, but we did have a little bit of trouble out there. That's one way of looking at it. Then you can look at it the other way that maybe I look at it, and there aren't very many of the people out here in the country look at it this way, but they would say, well, we sold a lot of electricity, you know, and that's good for the co-op right there. It's not maybe necessarily good for the members that got to pay those bills, because we did have a lot of high bill complaints. It's going to go when you have temperatures like that that are below zero for a few days in a row. That's not happened for a long, long time. But we did sell a lot of electricity, and that does help our bottom line. Angie Erickson, our Director of Administration, Finance and Administration, is going to be up here in a little bit, and she's going to report the financials to you, and she's got a pretty good financial report to make. The margins were good for us in 2009. That's an important thing. Our equity is staying where we want it to stay, good and healthy at 40%. That's the target set by the board. And we're doing all that while retiring capital credits. That's a pretty important thing there. We gave back $750,000 in December. For many years now, we've been retiring capital credits. I think all time we're up over $10 million now that we've returned back to our members since we started giving back capital credits. So that, you know, even though you may think, well, these capital credits are just this little paper IOU that I don't ever get anything for. The fact of the matter is, $10 million has went back into the countryside. That's a huge amount of money. We're pretty proud of that. Had some modest growth. A couple big services I talked about last year came on the system, a couple big pump stations, one for Magellan Pipeline, another for Enbridge. They were pumping crude gas, different things like that. Use a lot of electricity, increased our sales by around 15%, just those 2 meters. So that helps pay the bills. That's important. But we had some pretty modest growth also with new homes and different things like that coming on the system. Unfortunately, the economy's pretty well shut that off. We're probably down to some of the lowest build numbers that we've had in 10 years maybe right now. So hopefully that's going to turn around because that'll start putting the squeeze on us. With our financials looking good, rates stay stable. We had a rate adjustment last summer. I think it went into effect August 1st. There was a lot of discussion went on, a lot of analysis went on prior to that rate adjustment. Probably the biggest thing I would guess everybody realizes out of that adjustment was a service availability charge moving up to $30 a month. With that, we rolled the ECA, which was starting to get up into the $0.015, upwards to 2-cent range. We rolled that back into the base rate, and then we lowered the base rate. I think out of the whole rate adjustment we projected an increase maybe of around $200,000 revenue out of the whole thing. And that's on about $19 million of revenue to begin with. So it was around a 1% increase, I believe, there. But we did get the service availability charge where it needs to be to reflect the cost of keeping the meters out there in the system. And we were able to reduce the energy charge, which is good if you're using electricity. But a couple other things that happened in rates. The net metering, we have a rider now that allows our members to take advantage of net metering. We've had a lot of requests for that. It's a hot ticket item, hot button item across the country. Stuart Lowry, when he gets up here in a little bit, is going to speak a little bit more about net metering. He does a great job of explaining that, along with parallel generation. Anyone who wants to just hook up to the system and generate electricity, that option is available by Kansas statute and also by federal statute. So we have adopted riders now that make all that available to our members. But one of the important things is we see rates being stable. The margins are good. Co-op's doing well financially, so we hope we can hold it that way for a while. Last year, the future of the electric industry was a hot topic. Cap and trade, climate change, renewables. I stood up here and talked at great length about that. I think we even had a video. We were talking about our concerns with cap and trade, what that was going to do to the reliability of electricity, what it was going to do to the cost of electricity, some of the things that Harry was referencing in his report there earlier. Climate change, to what extent is it truly happening? A lot of different issues. I'm happy to report now that there is good, responsible discussion going on all of those issues right now. They haven't been resolved yet. They probably will be sometime. It's going to be a while. But Heartland, along with all the other co-ops in Kansas, along with all the co-ops in the nation, we pled our case. We did it very successfully in saying cap and trade has to be considered in the big picture of things. It's just not a matter of just jumping in and saying we got to do something. We need to do something responsible. And I think that's what's happening right now with Congress. So we'll wait and see what happens on that. But it's definitely moving on a better path now than it was a year ago. Power cost. Yeah, we've always got concerns that power cost is going to increase. And when there is talk about cap and trade and climate change that's pushing that, and when there is talk about the renewables, all these issues of smart grid, even though that hopefully is going to make electricity use more efficient, we do get a little bit concerned that it's not necessarily going to make it more cheaper, possibly. This infrastructure is going to have to be paid for somehow. A lot of factors playing into the cost of power. We're keeping our eye on that. We think it may creep up some, but we were successful with KEPCO to negotiate a long-term power supply agreement that's going to take care of us for many years, and we believe that's our best option right now to provide our members with reliable and affordable power. So that was a big move for us. When we do see changes in the cost of power, mainly that's going to be seen in the ECA. So when you're looking at your bills every month, if you're seeing that ECA fluctuate, which it's going to some, that's going to be a result of what we're seeing in the cost of power. Stuart Lowry, again, he's going to address a few of those things more for us. Some of the more important accomplishments for our past year are listed in your booklet. I think everybody got one in the mail. There's some out at the desk. I would urge you, if you haven't got the time yet, take a chance to read through that. There's some nice articles in there, and there is a couple good pages that talk about what was done in this past year to improve service to our members, some of the things that we had to overcome. We've got some pretty exciting and valuable projects lined up for 2010. Many of these projects are a result of the strategic planning session that was held by the board. Last summer, for a day and a half, these 12 individuals and our management team, we got together and we talked about what needs to be happening at the co-op over the course of the next 5 years. That's the period that we try to look out on a strategic plan. It was a very successful session. A lot of discussion goes into that. Actually, it's pretty hard work to sit around and try to make these decisions that are going to have maybe even sometimes some profound impacts on the co-op and try to see what's going to be needed up in the 5 years.